There are many different life cycles depending on the organism that you look at. Most of 1406, Biology 1406, focuses on looking at humans. And so we're going to focus on the human life cycle here. I'll briefly show you some of the other life cycles, but really the human one is what you want to know for now. Bio 2 talks a lot more about the specifics about life cycles of other organisms. So here's our humans. Here's our adult female and adult male. They are diploid. Remember, if we look at a karyotype of any of our body cells, we are going to have 2 copies of every type of chromosome. And we have 1 copy, the woman got 1 copy from her mother and 1 copy from her father of every type. And the man got a copy from his mother and his father. So inside of the woman's body, there's the gonad, specifically the ovary for a female. The ovary is made of a bunch of diploid cells. Some of those diploid cells are germ cells. Those germ cells are stem cells. And so they can produce more of themselves as well as other types of cells. And in this case, the other type of cell that they're going to make is an oocyte, or an egg. So oocyte is another name for an immature egg. So those cells in the ovary, the diploid cells there, are going to undergo meiosis and make haploid eggs. So that means the amount of DNA is halved. So in the egg, they only have 1 of each type of chromosome. The males, male humans and animals in general, have testes as their gonads. Inside the testis, there are also germ cells there. Those are going to be generating the sperm, the spermatogonial stem cells. They undergo meiosis, those 2 end cells there, and they end up producing haploid sperm. Once you have eggs and sperm, that's all those cells ever become. So those cells never divide again to become more eggs or more sperm. You get more eggs from the ovary, so there's new cells inside that turn into another egg. And you get more sperm from the testis. There's always cells inside the testis that can kind of divide, and some of those cells will become sperm. Then the sperm and the egg may undergo fertilization, which is basically a fusion of their DNA, forming a zygote. Since it's haploid and haploid, when those get together, it's back to diploid. This is a fertilized egg that needs to go from a single cell to a multicellular human. And so in order to go diploid to diploid, mitosis occurs. So meiosis will only go from diploid to haploid. Fertilization's going back again. And then anytime you're going diploid to diploid, just do mitosis like you were repairing your body cells. It's the same kind of process. So the only place in the entire body that gametogenesis is going on, meiosis is going on, is in the ovaries in the female and the testes in the male. The male produces sperm throughout his life. So this is a testis. Inside of it are all these coiled tubes called seminiferous tubules, and if we look at a cross-section of one of those, this is where all the sperm are produced. And then those sperm, it's kind of cool, the cell matures as it goes towards the lumen, the middle of the tube, and once it gets to the middle, that's when they're mature, and then they get released, and then they can go through the tube and get expelled from the body. So you can see the cells are undergoing meiosis in order to form these mature sperm. And when I say stem cells, spermatogonial stem cells, the way that you keep making more sperm and not running out of cells is that when that stem cell divides, one of the cells that it produces goes and becomes sperm. The other cell makes more stem cells. So that's the whole thing with stem cells. They renew their own type, and then the other daughter cell is the one that goes and becomes something special, like a sperm. And you can see here that it's going diploid. Meiosis makes it haploid. Females produce all their eggs, oocytes, when they're in embryogenesis. So once a female baby girl is born, she doesn't make any more new eggs. Now, not all her eggs, actually none of her eggs are mature yet. So the eggs are stuck in the middle of meiosis 1, so right at prophase 1. And so they won't mature until a hormonal signal comes. And one of those eggs, oocytes, is chosen. And it goes through the rest of meiosis 1 and starts meiosis 2 until it gets to metaphase 2. And then that's when it's released. So this would be during like a menstrual cycle. So this is ovulation. So that ovulated, meaning released from the ovary, oocyte, can go, and if it gets contacted by a sperm, will finish out meiosis, become truly haploid with just one copy of each chromosome, and then fuse back together with the sperm and become a fertilized zygote. You'll also notice that there's a difference here. These female are producing polar bodies instead of producing two cells that continue to make eggs, mature eggs. And so basically what this is that all the cytoplasm stays in one of the cells, and then the other one doesn't get any, and the polar body will just go die. And then that one cell will undergo the rest of meiosis and throw off another polar body. And so then in the end, you just get one egg, really, for every meiotic division. Now, I'll still say that all meiosis results in 4 daughter cells in the end. Just recognize, though, that the eggs are a little bit different because of this polar body thing. Part of the reason for that is that you need as much cytoplasm and organelles as you can get, and because that obviously the sperm doesn't bring any. So all of that to make the new organism is coming from the egg. Also, you only really want to release one mature egg at a time, so that you only get one fertilization event to, at least in humans, to have a single pregnancy, because those are more successful than multiple ovulation events. But every once in a while, 2 eggs will mature and 2 eggs will release, and then that's how you could get twins. So it's kind of interesting. During a fertilization event, there's many, many, many sperm, but only 1 egg usually is even available for fertilization. So that's why twins don't happen very often, because you have to have this release of 2 eggs, 2 matured eggs at one time in order for that to occur, if it's fraternal. Now, if they're identical, it means that there was 1 egg that was released, and then as it started going through mitosis as a zygote, maybe at 2 cells or something like that, it split in half and they got detached from each other. Then each of those cells grew up into its own organism, and those would be identical twins. And here are just some examples of other types of life cycles, sexual life cycles. So there's the animal one we just looked at. Plants, just to recognize that plants have a diploid stage of their life when they're multicellular and diploid, just like animals. But they also have this multicellular haploid stage of their life. So there's actually like the moss you see on the ground, the green part, that is actually a haploid organism. So if you were to take out those cells and look at the karyotype, there would only be 1 copy of each chromosome in every one of those little green cells of the moss. And then there's fungi, which are almost the opposite of animals, really, in the sense that their entire life is mostly spent as a haploid organism. Then fertilization occurs to make a zygote to mix up the DNA, but meiosis happens very soon again after that, and then the majority of the life of the fungus is spent in haploid state. You don't need to know these specifically yet. Like we said, that's bio 2. So anytime you're going diploid to haploid, that's always meiosis. Anytime you're going diploid to diploid, haploid to haploid, because you see that happens here, and here, and here. So all those haploids to haploids, that's all mitosis. So mitosis makes identicals, meiosis makes half.